So, what's up, people, and welcome to the Mission 109 discussion of Spy Family. So, Mission 109 came out a few days ago, and as always, I will leave a link to this mission that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So, if you're interested, I will go take a look at it before they pull this mission back. Okay, so Mission 109, if you recall in Mission 108, the chapter ended with Loid meeting up with Melinda, who had come into the hospital to see if she could receive treatment from him. And so there was some anticipation for Mission 109 because we kind of expected there to be a tremendous amount of dialogue between Loid and Melinda, while Loid tried to extract as much information out of Melinda as possible with regards to Operation Strix and her husband. And of course 109 did go into that, and so what we expected was somewhat there, but I have to say, there are parts of that mission where it's like no matter how much I analyze Mission 108, I would have never guessed what happened in Mission 109. And even right from the beginning part of this chapter, you see a very unusual Melinda coming up to Loid during his initial greeting. And she is in her defensive stance, making sure that she is safe against the psychiatrist. And why is she doing that? Well, we find out that Yor described Loid's unusual treatments of being able to treat his patients using violence and physical attacks. If you recall in chapter 2 or mission 2 of this series, that's what he described to cover up his battles against the bad guy. And you remember Yor believed him, and so I guess she believed him so much that she told Melinda about that, and that's why she is in that defensive stance. Now Loid quickly corrected her with regards to that and made sure that she was comfortable during the situation. But it was quite unusual to see. And in any case, he starts going into the treatment by looking at the symptoms, and he notices that she had written insomnia, diminished appetite, and headaches. And so, of course, he starts asking, do you have any recollection of what might have started all of these symptoms? Yeah, of course, she is quite hesitant to answer, and so Loid tries to comfort her by saying, please feel free to speak openly. Because he is a doctor, he is a psychiatrist, and because of that, he is under oath of confidentiality so that he will not divulge any contents of their discussion to anybody else, including Yor. And he follows up by saying that if there is ever a situation that their sessions do cause harm, then he does encourage her to report him to the authorities. And this, of course, makes Melinda respond that Loid is a very impressive and strong person to be able to commit himself like that. And she also sees that in Yor. And so they do make a very good couple and a very lively couple. And Yor asks back, well, do you not feel yourself to be that way? To which she has great amount of doubt. And so he does talk back in saying he is not a perfect person, and even though he is a doctor, he is a human being, and there are many aspects of his life where he does undergo a tremendous amount of stress. And when that does happen, then he himself will schedule an appointment with one of the other doctors for possible treatment. And so there is no shame in having such situations. And while she is the former first lady of the country, she is a human being, so there should be no expectation that she would be immune to such situations. And so if there is any possibility for treatment, then she should open up to him and share whatever is troubling her so that they can find a solution. Which of course is a nice superficial way of saying, why don't you tell me all of your deep secrets so that it would assist him in his mission. And so of course Melinda complies and asks his servant to leave, and once they are alone, then she starts talking to him. And she starts saying that he doesn't feel like a doctor, and mentions that she was a patient of this hospital a while back. And he notices that her past treatments are in the records and wonders if the psychiatric department back then was able to provide a proper solution since it was in the early days. And Melinda complies by saying that yes, back then, because it was after the war and the country was in the uproar, the people of the nation focused on the leaders for a solution. And so it was very difficult in those days because they were put under the radar. And even the doctors who treated her worked with her very delicately without being able to get into the details. And so Loid was like, that was too bad, but it's good that you were able to come back. And Melinda responds back by saying, well, that was in the old days, and that was when she was the first lady, but she is no longer that. And even now, not too many people may remember her as the former first lady. And as such, she should accept the situation and accept the change and become more human rather than political. And so, although she requested treatment back then as the spouse of the prime minister of the country, now she is just here as a mother and a wife. Which, of course, makes Loid ask, so is the stress involving your family? And all of this sounded very kind of expected, right? We kind of expected all of this to happen in this chapter. But then we get to that part where it's like, no matter what I expected, I didn't expect this when Melinda says, do you believe in UFOs? Yes, UFOs. And of course, Loid clarifies, you mean unidentified flying objects, to which, of course, Melinda says yes. And so Loid's mind is clicking furiously to figure out how to answer such a question. And you can see him going, what the heck am I supposed to say to that? But this is Loid Forger we're talking about, so he immediately gets into gear and starts reassuring her that it's fine because, of course, he himself is an avid fan of extraterrestrial situations and the possibility of cosmic beings. And in the past, he spent a lot of time studying such topics. And of course, since this is Loid, he just happens to have a lot of knowledge in this area, not because he was an avid fan of that, but because he has a lot of knowledge in all topics so that he can be a proper agent. And so by reciting many of the past events, he tries to reassure her that he also is a fan into that sort of topic. And by doing that, he then can ask, are you well versed in UFOs yourself, to Melinda? But Melinda doesn't particularly answer, to which, of course, then Loid immediately corrects himself and says that he apologizes, that this wasn't a meeting with regards to UFOs, this was a discussion with regards to her family. And in his mind, he's wondering why she didn't answer and starts thinking maybe she asked that question because it's not about herself, but maybe it's about a topic that one of her sons, Damien or Demetrius, is interested in. Or maybe there's some way that Donovan is interested in space or exploration. But of course, then we get the second surprise when she says, well, in truth, she feels that her husband is an alien. And of course, we end the chapter when Loid is like, say what? And so, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And of course, there is maybe a possibility that Spy Family is moving towards becoming a science fiction rather than a spy drama. But I don't particularly think it's the case. And maybe Melinda shouldn't have disclosed this to Loid. Maybe she should have went and talked to these characters instead, right? Okarun and Momo, right? They probably would have been able to give her a much more interesting response. But yeah, trying to figure out what's going on, because I don't think Melinda is joking about any of this. So what would happen with regards to knowing what we know about the story, to create a situation where she would ask such a question. And although I'm not sure if this will go into the extraterrestrial, there are various unusual situations with regards to the story which revolve around Project Apple, right? And I did see many of the commenters bring this up and wonder if she is mentioning about Desmond having powers similar to Anya. If you recall in one of the previous chapters, it did show Donovan Desmond having stitches in the back of his head. And that brought about some speculation that he had some operation done. And if it was associated with Project Apple, then maybe he had Anya's powers. But of course, Project Apple goes further than the possibility of Anya. It also goes into Bond, and it may potentially go into Garden. So there is also a possibility that not only can Donovan Desmond read people's minds, there's also the possibility that he has future sight or potentially superpowers, right? Physical powers. And that would be quite terrifying if he had all three. I wouldn't even know how Loid will be able to battle that one. But there may be something with regards to, again, that operation done to his head that created a situation that terrified Melinda quite a bit. Because if you remember in Mission 108, she became extremely terrified when she remembered or considered confronting Donovan about Damien. And so not only was there a possibility of him changing personalities, but whatever he did terrified her. But maybe coming into what she says here, instead of directly mentioning that Donovan is a demon or evil, she calls him an alien. So maybe whatever he did terrified her, but it wasn't done to her. Maybe she witnessed something that absolutely terrified her with regards to something she witnessed in the background. And if it was a power that he had being shown, then maybe that would terrify her because, yeah, Anya's powers, Bond's powers, and of course yours powers go way beyond what you would expect any human to have. And that may actually terrify her and at the same time think that this person is an alien. And I could see that potentially estranging her from her husband. But in any case, we don't really know what happens. And you know this conversation is going to continue on. And so it will be interesting to see in chapter 110 what she is meaning when she says she feels Donovan is an alien. And by doing so, we probably will get more clarification and revelation with regards to Donovan Desmond. Exactly what sort of person is he? Because up till now, he's been so mysterious, we really don't even know how much of an antagonist he may be. And so it will be interesting to see what happens in chapter 110. And once that comes out, I'll bring out another video. I hope you join me at that time. But this is the chapter 109 discussion. If you read it, what'd you think about it? Do you feel that Donovan Desmond is actually an alien? Or do you feel that there may be something that he did which was so inhuman that it made Melinda feel that her husband may actually be from beyond this world? Any comments will be greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, happy manga reading. And as always, Jaya, nice day, everyone.